All right, everyone. This is another episode of the Triangle Tennis Podcast with Zack and Matt. We're going to be doing a Summer Sizzle recap. We had a special guest, but Zack's going to explain what happened there.
Hey, yeah. So we got about 20 minutes of absolutely fantastic recording with Dr. Josh Lundberg. Unfortunately, we were felled by a combination of audio and Wi-Fi issues. We've had some issues, particularly with my audio, these last couple episodes, and we're doing everything we can to try and keep it as high quality as two guys just doing our best can. And so in the interest of sound integrity, we're going to be rescheduling Josh. So Matt and I today are just going to talk about the Summer Sizzle tournament. We're going to recap that a little bit. We're going to play a fun game or two. I'm going to grill Matt on who a Triangle tennis player is. He's going to grill me on one, and we're going to do our best. So thank you all for joining us for a slightly different episode than we were expecting, but I think we're going to have a good one.
Yep.
Now, Matt, with that in mind, let's talk about the
Summer Sizzle.
upsets.
It started off as a drizzle. Let's not forget the first day.
Oh, let us not. Absolutely.
Yeah.
By the way, there's a bit of a Triangle Tennis Podcast curse. Any tournament that we cover in any way, shape, or form, you're going to lose a whole day to rain. So just tournament organizers,
minimum one day.
Sorry. Seven Oaks tournament, I assume it's going to be a hurricane, it's going to hail, and there will be a blizzard all at the same time. Does that seem about right, Matt?
Yeah, I think so. But Sunday will be good. They'll get Sunday in.
And the best part is Matt and I will be texting each other. I'll be like, oh, we'll be fine. It's going to be fine. And
Yeah.
he'll be like, no one's going to play. Just the
And
whole
it's
week
somewhere
of
in
it.
between. Oh, that.
So why don't we
go
do this? We're going to go in order by the fellas division, starting at 3-5 singles. We're going to talk about who won the main draw, who won the consolation draws, and then we're going to talk about some matches that we wish we'd seen or got to see. So,
Sure.
up
ahead.
first, let us not forget, at 3-5 we made some predictions in singles.
Oh, we did.
And I would say we were closer. If it's like in horse racing, if somebody places, if they win, get to the finals or the consolation, and you predicted they were going to win, it basically means that you got it right. And
I don't know about the consolation. I don't think that counts. I think they got to make the semis or something.
Yeah, there might not be such a thing as a TTP bump. There's definitely a TTP curse. Andy Chan, who both Matt and I know and think is a very good player, had a solid tournament. Unfortunately, he did not win the whole thing, but he did have a very solid round one match and go on to win the consolation. Shout out to Andy Chan.
Yeah, good work. Sometimes you just get a bet. Sometimes you, especially with these tournaments, because the way the seedings work, it's how many points you have, and you get lots of points for playing tournaments, regardless, even if you only win a couple of rounds.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just come across someone who just doesn't play a lot of tournaments, but they're very good. And so you can just get stuck with the bad draw. So sometimes that happens, and you just got to make the best of it, and winning the consolation sometimes the best you can do.
That's such a good point, man. And I wish that they would factor in a mix of points and maybe UTR, and that might be too complicated of a system. But yeah, the seeding is totally divorced from likelihood of outcomes in a lot of these tournaments because of exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
I think UTR, if UTR is used as seed, it's typically going to be more accurate of a predictor than actual seeds. For those of our listeners that are not aware, Matt, can you explain how folks go about accruing points and how the point system works?
A little bit. We'll get fact checked on this. So I think Ryan Seiko would be a good one to talk about this as well. But the more tournaments you get, the more points you get. A ranking for singles and doubles in the state. The farther you get, obviously, the more points, and then the level of the tournament. I forget which episode we talked about. It was a past episode we talked about, I think with Max, the leveling of the tournaments, and you get more points for that. So obviously the farther you get in the higher level tournament, the more points you'll get. But you do get you do accrue a points just for winning. So there are some tournament guys and gals probably who always get seeded no matter what, even though if they were to play like a USTA team, they may not be as strong as a lot of other players.
Yeah, and I think when you look at every state, there's typically a small number of folks that just are clear point chasers. And so the folks that are playing in sectional tournaments or national tournaments, the level of points you can get for that is so much greater. They oftentimes have a far and away lead. If you, it's in a similar style to on the Pro Tour, you can only keep your tournaments for a year. In some other sports, like I've got a close friend who does mixed martial arts, you keep your points for 3 years, but each year the value of the points decreases based on how long it's been. In tennis, it's just 1 year. I actually think that system could use some improvement because, look, people get injured. And then they lose their points. And I think a multi-year system, especially if somebody's at the same level for that, makes sense. Additionally, points don't carry over between levels, which is complicated.
Yeah, I guess if you get bumped, then it's over. Or if you're so if I'm a 4-0 and I'm playing up at 4-5, my 4-0 points wouldn't count, right?
Correct. And they don't translate from singles to doubles, doubles to singles. It's also my understanding that if you get points at 7-5 in a 7-5 doubles tournament, that wouldn't in any way impact your seeding in a 4-0 doubles tournament.
Oh, wow. How many combo tournaments are out there this day? I haven't seen too many.
There's no such thing as a perfect tournament, right?
Yeah.
But I think that I'd like to see the USTA make some tweaks to the point system. What about you, Matt?
They should pay me, Jaron, and Jackson to redo it. And then we'll do it. Yeah. They should pay us. We could start our own company. JJ&M, data science, something. We'll think of a more clever name, and then we'll just do that full time, and they can pay us a bunch of money, and we'll do it for them.
How much would each of you individually net after taxes from that?
That's a big thing. I bet we could each get $500,000 each.
Yeah, they should definitely, absolutely do that. So you can retire and be a full-time podcaster with me. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I don't know, man. I think I'd rather get public clay courts than a new point system. But I like the idea of
we could donate. We would have all this money that we could donate to make public clay.
So if you all create a nonprofit that USTA donates to create this new system, then you could use that money, and in lieu of salary,
they should give me the money first. No, I want the money, and then I will donate some of that money to this.
I think,
and then I can write it off my taxes.
Yeah, I think that with that kind of offer, USTA would be crazy not to do it. Let's make this happen. All right. Andy Chan won in 3-5 singles consolation. The winner of 3-5 is a fella named Andres Pineda. He's a local player. He's played some folks that are friends of the pod, but I'm not familiar with his game. Matt, do you know anything about Andres?
Absolutely nothing. But congrats.
Okay. Nice work. Congrats, Andres. We'd love to see you at East End on a Saturday morning at some point.
Come on out. Yeah.
I know that he has played Mike P, and Mike P got that W. We'll have to ask him at some point about Andres.
Okay, yeah, Mike P. When Mike P's on, we can ask him.
Gonna be real with you. I do not know either of the fellas at 3-5 doubles.
I'm not gonna try.
But huge shout out to Abhimanyu Joshi and Anjaneya Tiwari, and I deeply apologize if I didn't pronounce your names correctly, but not familiar with your game. Clearly, it's pretty good. Way to get the win, fellas.
Work.
3-5 doubles. And huge congratulations to AJ Varma, Ganapatharaju, and Vamsi Pasangulapati for getting the win at 3-5 dubs in the consolation bracket. Not familiar with your games, but the triangle tennis scene is a small one and would love to see them on the courts. Huge shout out to those guys. Now, we're going to get to a division where we are deeply familiar with some of the players. Tevin Wilson getting the win in the finals over Mike Westlander. That must have been an amazing match. Matt, what do we think?
That match was live streamed. It was broadcasted for the world to see. Did you know that?
I did not know that. Is it available for folks that would like to see it?
I don't know if it's available after the fact. I'd have to check CPT, but I forget who. Maybe somebody put in the chat. There's like cameras on CTP. I don't know if you knew this, but if you're playing there, they are watching you, and you are live streamed for people to watch you. So if you like grab your junk or something, or you adjust, and you think it's just you, no, everyone's watching. Yeah.
Is that okay? So this is news to me. I did not know. Not that I'm like running around the court doing that, but I sometimes
I give a little adjustment every once in a while. Yeah,
I use words that I wouldn't want my mother to hear me say on the court sometimes, and okay, and that's just going all the time.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yes.
Wow.
So we can hear what they said. Yeah.
I'm reeling. There's no like archives because I played there a few times as a junior, and I know.
Oh,
there are some choice moments from 12-year-old Zack at CTP.
Wow. If anyone has any old footage of them playing as a kid, please let us know. We would love to watch it.
Okay, so there was a live stream of this. I did not get the chance to watch, but I played both Mike Westlander and I played Tevin Wilson. We covered Tevin in depth on the previous episode about the Summer Sizzle. He's the most ambidextrous human being that anyone's ever met.
Yeah, it was crazy to watch that. Yeah.
Tell everybody a little bit about Mike Westlander's game because he's got a very saucy game as well.
Yeah, it's really grown since I remember playing him a couple years ago, and it was. I mean, he likes to go for it. He hits big, but I think what's changed from when I played him when we played a match maybe a year and a half ago, is now it's much more under control. Yeah. You still see it come out every once in a while, just a massive overhead or a massive volley. But he's definitely aggressive, but it's much more controlled. Big serves. Really impressed with his game. I think he's putting in the work as well. Yeah. I think we talked about this last time. Putting in a lot of work. Yep.
He is able to attack off the serve as well as anybody at 4-0 in the triangle. I think I have gotten, when we played practice matches, I've gotten deeply frustrated where I'll hit a kick serve on a second that I feel pretty good about, maybe a little slice second serve that I feel good about, and he'll just crank it back at me. And it's deflating the way that he's able to attack so well off the serve. He also has one of the biggest serves at 4-0, that flat serve that is affectionately known as the musket.
Yep.
Tevin's is comparable. Who do you think's got the bigger flat first serve?
I don't know Tevin as well. Tevin serves, he doesn't switch serving on one hands, right? He serves like handed the whole time, I'm assuming.
I am gonna be real. I feel like when I'm watching him, I'm seeing optical illusions, and I can't quite tell.
That'd be insane.
I've played Tevin
hands,
twice, and I can't answer that question. I definitely have seen him hit an overhead with.
I could see that.
Both hands. And I think he does serve with both hands too.
Wow.
I don't know that he does. Fact check us. Max Gregson's gonna fact check this. We gotta have Tevin on the show.
We should. Yeah, I had never seen him play, and I watched the live stream. Watching him switch back and forth was pretty wild because I've done it just a few times.
Yeah.
To just when I'm playing, just if I'm really stretched out, I might tap it over with my left and my brace. Yeah. But like that is not easy to take the racket from one hand to the other. That's very difficult.
This was just a great bracket. Stuart Bible and Tevin had a three-setter, a full three-setter to start Sunday morning. So huge kudos to Tevin for being able to recover from that and then get it done against Mike. Two very tough players on a hot day.
So hot. It was so hot. While they were playing or before they were playing, I was supposed to. I played a righty match, and I was actually down 1-4, and the guy comes to me and he goes, "I'm done. I can't do anymore." At 1-4, it was so hot, and these guys played multiple matches in a day. Unbelievable. And I think only one person went to the ER, which is probably
only
a victory.
One?
Yeah, only
I guess.
one. I guess I think that's a victory as how hot it was. And that one person wasn't Ezra.
Okay, that's good. That's good. I think we shoot for 0. Hey, we got there. One other match in 4-0 I just want to give a quick plug to in the main draw. Ari Farber and Brady Sowers had an absolute battle in the first round there. Both very good players. Brady, I think we talked about a little bit in the preview. Ari, I don't think we did. His serve motion is so smooth, and he can really control the point with the forehand. And he's a young guy as well. So I think we will see him rising through the NTRP rankings over these next couple of years.
I caught a few points of that, and every point was really good. 10, at least, maybe not 10, maybe it was at least 5, 6, 7 balls each time going back and forth. It was great.
Yeah. I would also like to point out, Matt, that Jason Grunberg, the lefty wonder, he of the big forehand and big serve, got the win in the consolation final. Nice. I don't think I predicted that, but I'm gonna say it feels like I did with the way I talked about his game. A lot of action.
You talked a lot about him, so I feel like that's close enough.
The bump.
Yeah.
You
gotta. Yeah. I agree. I have never seen him play.
I think that's the only reasonable takeaway is that Jason got the TTP bump.
Yeah. That's absolutely.
I would love to see you guys play. Two lefties.
Is he a lefty? Oh, I hate
He's a lefty.
Lefties. It's just so annoying being righty. It just takes because when I play a lefty, I have to play the opposite game. It's very annoying. I do not like it.
Yeah. Going back to the serve question, I don't know if Westlander or Tevin has a bigger first serve righty, but I know that Tevin probably does lefty. I haven't seen Westlander do the lefty serve. Yeah. The ambidextrousness would suggest. All right, talk to us a little bit about that doubles in 4-0, Matt.
Oh, yeah. There were some epic matches. I know Nick and Nick had, to start us off, Nick and Nick had a 3-setter, and that might have been even 10. I forget the tiebreak score, but I thought it was 10-8, something like 10-8, with Barry and Ben Redmond. And that was, I was able to watch a little bit of that match. It was a really good match. Ben and Barry were playing really well. Nick and Nick looked a little rusty, but I think the majority of it was Ben and Barry playing well.
Yeah.
And I think Nick and Nick, they had a little easier time the second round. I think they just had Nick Lau has been hurt, so I don't think they've played as much together. So I think it took them a match to get the mojo back
Against the Killer Bees.
But the Killer Bees were playing really well, putting the ball away. So I don't want to take anything away from them because 2 points the other way, a couple of balls one way or the other, and that match is theirs.
I'm less familiar with the games of Nick and Nick, but both Barry and Ben are fantastic players, especially in doubles. I find like Barry's forehand, he's got a great flat forehand. He can go cross court with it. He can test the net guy, and both of them are really good at getting on top of the net and finishing the point. So I'm sure the Knicks were struggling with that. But yeah, it sounds like it was a heck of a match.
It was, yeah. And who else did I watched Ezra and Kwame play one match, but they were done in 25 minutes, their first one. I think Stewart, or was it Stewart or Dan? I can't remember. Somebody had them. We had some bets on over-under for their first match on 25 minutes because it was a fast four, and I think they were slightly over 25 minutes.
So this one actually, in 4-0 doubles, I think the TTP bump is real. Because you predicted Raymond and Patrick, I believe.
They did? No, did I? Maybe I did, but I don't remember.
You might have been Nick and Nick.
I think I probably predicted Nick and Nick.
But I know who I predicted, and it was Ezra and Kwame, and those dudes got the win.
Prediction.
So huge shout out to Ezra and Kwame. What a run. They beat some very good players, and I don't think they dropped a set in the process.
No, and I know Ezra is a listener. We were at Max's beach house one time, and it was the episode with you, me, and Spencer, and we were hanging out in the beach house, and he was out on the porch, and I hear Spencer's voice, and I'm like, Ezra, what are you doing? And he's, I'm listening to the podcast. I'm like, Spencer and I are right here. You could just talk to us and listen to that later. He's like, no, I want to listen to the podcast. So he's dedicated.
Yeah.
The man is dedicated.
That's good stuff. They served 3 bagels and a breadstick in 4 matches. Wow. Didn't drop a set. Really nicely done. I want to talk a little bit more about 4-0, and specifically I want to get into the consolation draw. Matt, were there any matches, before we get to the final result, that really jumped out at you?
Outside of the ones we talked about, I don't think I reviewed the results as much, but the ones that the Nick and Nick, Barry and Ben Redmond was really good, and then that finals with Kwame and Raymond and Patrick.
I think the single most shocking scoreline that I've seen since Daniel Marchek and I played in the 4-0 singles finals in Wilmington last year was the quarterfinal scoreline between Benjamin Redmond and Barry Gooch and Michael Pornaris and Christopher Green. 5-4, 5-4. First set tiebreaker goes to Barry and Ben, 15-13. Second set tiebreaker goes to Barry and Ben, 15-13. Holy shit. This is one of those matches where you got to say to yourself, I wish that there was a swing vision of this, because that's a scoreline that's almost too good to be believed.
What court were they on? It might have been recorded. It might have been the live stream, and then maybe it's recorded. I don't know.
It says they were on court 18, so if you can track down footage of that match on court 18, that is holy moly. Yeah. The eventual winners were Matthew Glenn and Thomas Taylor, not familiar with their games, but over friends of the pod, Justin Fry and Sean Berman, and a tough one in the final there. It's a good run all around. Great division. Just a good roster of players. Wish that more could have participated on both singles and doubles.
4-5. I can talk a little bit about 4-5 because I had
4-5.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Why don't we do some quick plugs?
That's a great idea.
Matt, what are you plugging this week?
So I'm going to be plugging EEB tanks, East End Boys tanks. There have been discussions and rumors about tank tops. I think it's time we did it. I think it's time someone got it together and we got the tanks. Everybody loves a good tank. Everyone loves showing off the guns. It's crazy hot right now, so the least amount of clothes I can wear is great. I think that I would love to see some type of jersey where we can all wear and represent. And I don't think tanks are that expensive.
Less material.
Yes, less material. I would prefer dry fit tanks. Cotton tanks are going to be rough. So if we can get some dry fit tanks, somebody wants to design a logo, whatever, I would love to see that.
Let's talk about this, Matt. What's the right amount of like arm hole for a tank top? Because some people go big holes on the side, and for me,
Oh, you talking about? See, I think a tank. When I'm thinking tank, I'm thinking like it's like just a thin sleeve here. I'm not thinking cut off. Like a cut off is where I cut the sleeves off.
Yeah.
I'm thinking tank where I can see. I want to see a lot of chest hair.
Like, how much siding do you like to have open on the tank? Because some people go super open on the side.
I see.
More than others.
Right below the boob.
Right below the boob.
I think
it might be a touch above. Yeah, touch higher.
Touch higher.
That being said, it could be below the belly button. If it's an Easton Boys tank top, I'd wear it.
Exactly. Yeah, I just want to make sure I can get some chest hair out there because I know that can be very intimidating.
Would you ever do the V-neck tank? That's too much, right? Or is that not enough?
No, I would do it. Oh, yeah. I used
V-neck?
to. So when I was in high school, we had collared shirts, but the buttons, I don't know, went way down, like below the chest. And let's say I was a hairy dude, so at 16, 17, 18, I had a hairy chest, so I would always keep the chest hair out, just whenever I played a freshman or sophomore, just to remind them that I have chest hair and you should be intimidated.
You got to let it out. Yeah, you got to let it out. So my plug this week is a little bit self-serving. It's taking time off from tennis when you need it. Matt can attest to this.
Oh, yeah.
I had a tough loss last week on a match that I really wanted to win.
Oh, yeah.
Against a team where I really felt like we could compete. I was added to this team for the purpose of giving us a good shot, and I came up short. And sometimes when you come up short, you say, gosh, I tried my best, and you go home and that's it. And other times you have a little meltdown. And I chose path number 2 there.
You did. I was on the car ride home with him.
Oh, yeah. And look, I think, like everybody, I had my moments on the court, but I really try not to toss my racket over the fence. Pretty low bar, and I didn't clear it. I felt super embarrassed. I launched this thing out of frustration. It wasn't the racket's fault. It was mine. It was footwork, not the racket. But I think I'm taking a few more days off of tennis as a result of that because I was feeling the pressure. I felt like I was tight. I don't think that I played scared, but I wasn't trusting my shots, and I played tight. And I think sometimes you just need a little bit of a break after a tough loss, and right now that's what I'm doing. And so, hey, if you're listening to this and you're having a little bit less fun out there, you still love tennis. It's still a great sport. Take a week if you need it. Go do something else. Go play pickleball. It's fine. Don't play too much. A little bit here and there. Play golf if that's your thing. Lift a weight. Go on an extra jog. It's fine. It's okay. It's all right. At least that's what I tell myself.
Yeah.
Matt, am I exaggerating that I had a little bit of a freak out?
Oh, no, you were fine. That's like a subdued match for me, what you did.
What did you see?
I just saw a guy who lost a tough match. I don't think he did anything. It wasn't a tough match to a good team. Yeah. It was a close score. What was it? 10-8 in the tiebreak or something like that?
Yeah. We've been down 9-6, I believe, in the tiebreak. Yeah. And then we won 2 points to get back into it. And then we played a 15-shot rally where people were going up the net. They were going back. Yep. There were good angles. There were a few close calls. Yep. And I had a chance to make an offensive move on a volley. And it was and I think I made the right play. I was on Swing Vision, so I watched it, and it looked to me after the fact, after the 5th time I watched it, still like the right play. And I shanked the volley, and I missed it. And, that's one that's going to stick with me for a while. Huge congratulations. And I say this not to take away anything from the other team. Those guys can play. They were great. They were good. They got me. They got my absolute A game for the bulk of the match, and I just got tight at the wrong points. Spencer, my partner that day, played fantastic.
Yeah,
he's a crafty player, man.
He is.
Like a lot of guile, a lot of savvy for a young guy.
Yeah. Coach Spencer. He's if you're on, maybe his forehand isn't the prettiest, but the man knows what to do. If you ever are struggling with when it comes to tactical ideas and where to be and things like that, he knows what to do.
I think when I play with him, I see even greater value in finding the little things you can do to make yourself marginally more likely to get the shot you want to get on the court, right? And he's got a fantastic backhand, His forehand he can do a lot with it, but it's not as strong as his backhand, or it's not as much of an advantage as his backhand is. And so we did a ton of Aussie style serving from the deuce side when he was serving. So he would funnel the ball to his backhand. It also gave me the opportunity to plant my tush in the middle of the service box and get a couple easy poaches, and especially in the early games. And little stuff like that, if you make yourself 5% more likely to win a point, and you do that over and over and over again, it adds up.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes a big difference. But yeah, no, it was a great match. Everyone played great that day. I know Tyler and Ezra came back from playing a horrendous first set and came back to play a solid second and take it in the tiebreak.
Yeah, I think I'm so bummed I feel like I didn't deliver, but I think a thing that I'll just throw out there, again, congrats to Team Jermaine. That was a fantastic win. They've had a great season. I am absolutely going to be on a team that is going to be one of Jermaine's teams one of these days. And I'm sorry I didn't deliver to Team Gregson, but we did have a really great match. And I also think that's why we play. Yeah, I was pissed afterwards, but do you know how fun it is as an adult to get to participate in a sporting event that you give that much of a shit about and to play pretty well, and for your opponents to play pretty well? And even though you embarrass yourself a little bit like I did, walk off the court as friends, there's just nothing better than matches like that in rec tennis. And so didn't get it done, but really proud to be part of such an awesome scene.
Yeah, I was happy to I felt like I was actually helpful. Tyler told me after, so we printed off, Tyler likes the phrase got him, that's his catchphrase, and Parv printed off some got him signs that I would periodically open up in Flash after great points. So after Tyler hit a couple passing shots, I would open up the sign, and he had told me after that was definitely helping him play better. And you can't do much from the sidelines, but it's nice when you can do a little bit like that. And I know I had one for you, Zach. I don't know if you saw it, but you had a got him. You had a couple of got hims.
I'd actually like to see a little bit more of that in tennis. I think a more relaxed atmosphere for the fans and a little bit more cheering. I think in college it's like ridiculous. I think that's a little too much. But a few more got hims, a little bit more like clapping, laughing, happiness on the sideline. I think that would be very good. So I support the got him mission.
All right.
All right. Let's get back to it.
4-5. So I didn't realize this, but the man who won 4-5 singles is on my carry 8-5 team. And he goes by, if I'm correct in the chat, Joey Wang. He goes by Joey.
Shout out to Joey.
Yeah, and he defeated Anil, who I picked to win and is an incredible 4-5 player. So that is a great win. And Joey must be in, I think he's in the East End chat. I forget where I found him from, but somehow he wound up on one of our teams. So it's great to see him play.
So what a run by Joey. Round 1, he gets Visakin. Everyone knows Visakin can play. Great, big shots, dictates the point, wins in 3. Next round, he gets Brett Eccles. Everyone knows that Brett can play. Best looking one-handed backhand at 4-5 in the triangle, in my opinion. And then who does he get in the finals? Anil, who also everyone knows can play. That is about as rough. That is a rough draw. I haven't seen Joey play. I'd love to see his game. My pick, Daniel Marchek, had a great round 1, was felled by Anil, who I believe was your pick.
Yeah,
to win
Anil
it
was
all.
my pick, yeah.
Yeah.
And I was so happy to realize that Joey was on one of my teams. I didn't even know. Yeah.
I wish that Joey was on one of my teams now that I know. Good stuff, Joey.
And the other match I want to shout out to was Brett Eccles and Dan Gallo in the first round went to a tiebreak, and that was an epic match. I just don't know. And it was so hot. And that's another thing. Joey went through, who did he go through? I forget first round, but he went through Brett. And these are not people who, Anil and Brett are in great shape too. And it was hot. And I think we have talked about when it's above 90, how good you are, and fitness tend to the fitness takes over, I think, at above 90.
Like, you look at Brett and you're like, okay, I assume this guy is good at many other sports besides tennis. And then you look at someone like myself, and that's not immediately clear, right?
Yeah, I would put myself in that category.
Yeah, and so to get a win over a guy who's in such great shape, and it was a 3:30 match, that's the absolute worst time to play on a hard court in July in North Carolina against a guy in killer shape like Brett. So That's about as tough earned of a win as you could get at that tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Not to take away from the finals. Neil's an amazing player. The 9:30 match just means, though, that the weather, while of course a factor, wasn't as like oppressively hot. It was still brutal, I'm sure, but the 3:30 slot, that's when middle-aged dudes have heart attacks. And now in that, it's what did you think was going to happen, man?
Yeah, I agree. It was I just couldn't believe how hot it was. And Dan also, congrats winning the consolation. I mean, he had a tough first round, and that can be tough to bounce back from. But it was great to see him win that back draw, and he's clearly on his way to 4-5. He's had some really good wins in some of our singles teams.
Yeah.
Some of the teams I've been on. And I know he's been playing more doubles, so I've been happy. I know he wasn't big on doubles, but he had a lot of fun in the spring playing with John Cannon and some of the other guys. So that was great to see, too.
A name that we haven't mentioned much yet, but who crossed paths with some good players and had some solid points there. Scott Benson had a tough round one opponent, Daniel Marchek.
Yeah.
And then got a win against Atul Mehendale in the first round of the consolations, and then ultimately was beaten by Dan Gallo in the finals. I believe that Scott Benson is like the founder or moderator of the Triangle Facebook tennis group.
Yeah.
I posted in there the other day, Matt. You want to know what I posted about?
What'd you post?
I asked if anybody knew why there were no public clay courts in the Triangle,
Oh my God,
despite
are you serious?
similar sized cities having them. And I just got to say, hey, if there are greater priorities than that, and I want the money to go to X, Y, and Z instead, look, a reasonable person can see that perspective. But all the responses depressed me. It was like, oh, like, it's hard. And it's okay, Asheville and Greensboro and Wilmington have figured it out.
Yeah,
so like, it's not that hard. If you have a different set of priorities, that's fine to me. But this immediate defeatism, it's embarrassing. Let a little optimism in. Don't be a cynic.
Yeah.
It's not cool. We're not in middle school. That's when being cynical is cool. You know what's cool as an adult? Caring really hard about something and trying to make it happen.
I agree. I think I told you this story when I was playing somebody in Mooresville, and obviously the courts were amazing. And he said, "Yeah, I played in Durham one time at these really shitty courts. They were terrible." And I go, "Where'd you play at?" And he's Garrett Road. And I said,
that
"Those
hurts.
those are the best public courts in Durham." And I was like, "Oh my God, ouch, yeah, that hurt."
I will tell you, playing in a Cary league and a couple Cary leagues now, their parks there are pristine.
Aren't they amazing?
It's incredible. And you know what? They're packed. And it's not any one group. It's young people.
Yep.
It's older people. It's middle-aged people. It's kids that are home from school. Everybody in the fabric of the United States is at a park in Cary. And it's awesome. And it's great. Yeah. And it's because they invested in their community. And it's also because, let's be honest, there's plenty of money in Cary. Like,
yeah, that median income is a little higher.
It's not exactly a down on its luck community. Okay, so look, when I was a kid growing up in Chapel Hill, and I hope nobody's mad about this, I never called it this, but they used to say that Cary stood for the containment area for relocated Yankees because so many people were moving down from New York and New Jersey to Cary.
Really?
Yeah, and it's just a little bit of Triangle lore from a longtime resident.
I didn't know that. Yeah, I know there's a huge percentage of a lot of doctors live in Cary.
Yep.
And it's great. Their parks are just pristine. It's amazing.
If you're gonna suffer like a meaningful injury, you should do it at a park in Cary.
Yeah.
Because one, you can sue the city for way more money. They got it. And two, there's probably a doctor.
There's probably
nearby.
a doctor there. Yeah, there probably is. I don't know what the doctor per capita is, but it's 10 times the rate that it is in Durham or any other city. It's crazy.
Yeah. And you know what? They put on a mean tournament. The Sizzle, it is run. I wish that they found a way to let more people in the draw, but they run a tight tournament, and they've got another one in the fall. And I had a conflict and couldn't play in this one. I definitely want to play in the fall tournament, which a lot of people, Matt, are calling the Triangle's 5th Grand Slam of recreational tennis. Are you, if healthy, going to be playing in the fall Cary tournament?
Oh, I would love to. I am the reigning champion from 2 years ago at 4-0, so I'd like to get back in there, but the odds are not in my favor of playing in any tournaments anytime soon. Yeah.
I remember seeing that result because it was before you and I had played each other.
Yeah.
And I remember being flabbergasted that somebody could get that kind of result against Spencer Llewellyn. What happened that day?
It was it was wild. I lost 2 I played 4 matches and lost maybe 8 games total.
How many of those were in the finals?
I lost. How many of those? I lost 2 games in the finals. I think. I think
2
it was
whole
0
games.
Yeah, it was 0-0, 0-2.
That was close.
Maybe 1-2, and then 0-2. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
an absolute beatdown. That was my prime. I don't think I can.
What
come back.
happened? Like, were you just one of those weekends where you were so dialed in? Was it like you were at that point you were just clearly above the level of the other 4-0 players? Like, how did you string together that strong of a result across that many matches in that short time frame? Because there are a lot of high level players that can't do that. Me being one of them.
Yeah, I wasn't fat then, so that really helped. I was like 20 pounds lighter.
Okay.
But I had been lifting a little bit, so I was at that sweet spot where I was still strong, but hadn't put on that extra weight, so that didn't weigh me down. I had never played these guys before, so they hadn't seen my game. So my slice serve, all my game, the little things that people are used to now, they just weren't used to. And I don't think people knew, what to do against me because I just kept getting the ball back. And then being 20 pounds lighter helps a lot.
And it was hot. And if you're getting the ball back over and over
pretty hot.
and over.
Yeah. And I was still, like I said, I was at that sweet spot if I had been lifting but hadn't put on a ton of weight.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was peak. That was as good as it gets. It's a good time.
I'm really bummed there was no 4-5 dubs. And
that was a bummer.
Look, there's not enough entrance. But I'm pretty sure there's enough triangle area players at 4-5 for there have been both singles and doubles. Yeah. And not to put the 4-5 division on blast, and I'm guilty of it. I wasn't able to play. We got to show up a little more. Speaking of which, there's something this fall that everybody needs to be showing up for a little bit more. Matt, drop some knowledge.
Fall singles, right? Is that what we're talking about?
Pumpkin singles.
Yeah, we've got fall singles. You can still sign up. It's just so there was some confusion. I think you can still sign up. You just may not get the discount. Although if you're captaining, but I'm sure if you emailed them and you asked them, they would probably give you the discount. But let's see if we can get some more teams in there. I think last call at 4-5 there was 3 or 4 teams, but we could definitely get 7 or 8. And then I'm not sure at 4-0 or 3-5, but this is the first time that CTA's doing this, so let's make sure we get. I would captain 4 or 5 teams if I could, but they won't let me play. And we talked to Chris, and literally I did everything I could. They won't let me play, but the rest of you should play so that I can play next year. Because if you guys don't get enough people filled, then they're going to be like, oh, this isn't worth it. So particularly at 4 or 5, hopefully I'll come back there. I need you guys to keep this alive for one more year so I can come back and play because I want to play fall singles.
Yeah. And also, anytime you sign up for a league or you captain a team, you are doing something to help Enocta.
Enocta.
Yes.
Is how you, yes.
And that's rad. Shout out to Ryan Seiko. Happy birthday, Ryan Seiko.
Hey.
Ryan Seiko played in the 5-0 division, which is 3 players.
Yes.
And he had a solid showing. Didn't get a win, but was competitive in every match. That's our guy. Shout out to Justin Pugh from Wilmington, North Carolina, an area that we have absolutely clowned for being the best player at the tournament and making us look a little silly. But, hey, it was just friendly shit talk, whatever. Ryan Seiko. He takes a shot every time he hears his name on the podcast, yeah?
Oh, I didn't know that. We should definitely say his name, Nor.
Whose name?
Ryan Seiko. Although I hope he only listens on the weekends. I don't want him to be like wasting over all the time when he's working because I know he's working for Stewart's.
I agree. I hope that Ryan Seiko only listens to this on the weekends. And I also hope that anybody listening to this who's this far into it, text it to him, maybe even with a clip of us saying Ryan Seiko. 5-0 is tough, man. Kudos to him for playing in 5-0. After my spring season, I'm going to play 5-0 again next year. But I'm going to make sure that I'm getting more 4-5 matches because it's demoralizing to get the shit kicked out of you with some of those guys.
Yeah, just the way the season went this year, we had 5 or 6 5-0 matches before in the spring, before you got your first chance at 4-5. So it's just bad luck.
Yeah, I think it was like a couple of really not competitive losses and one competitive one to start the season.
Yeah.
And tennis is such a mental game, man. I think that my level was pretty good then, but I just didn't have a ton of confidence because I had back-to-back losses to start the season.
Yeah, it's tough to lose that many times in a row.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've lost that many matches in a row.
That's the thing that always impresses me and I guess when you see somebody has a season where they go like 3-18, and then the next season you see they get to 500, and the next season they have a good winning record. This year I am the 3-18 guy. I'm not actually 3-18, but my record is very much under 500. What can you do? Speaking of any injury updates, we need to get you back on the course. We need to pump some wins up for Dr. Matt.
It's definitely getting better. Actually, I am still in a brace for another week. I have 4 different braces because they get really sweaty when I play tennis. So I rotate them, and I've gone through every single one of my braces. They're in the wash, so I've got this little wrist widget, but I'm still in it for another week. And then I should be good. I can do like this, and it doesn't hurt. Usually when I do this, I'm cringing, and it really hurts.
For those of you at home, Matt is flapping his wrist like a bird wing.
Yeah, so you need to do that when you serve. You may not realize it, but that hurts when you serve. The real test, if I'm fully back, is if I can handle a backhand return from Ryan Seiko and it doesn't hurt. That's going to be like the final test.
Yeah. We're in the portion of the podcast where we're going to have to cut a bunch of stuff before this, but also presumably we're done with the Sizzle preview and people are not going to be listening at this point.
So we're going to do one more game before we close it out from point A to clay. One of the things I have to do all the time, every morning when you have dogs, is you have to clean up their shit all the time. Okay. So I want you to go from dog shit to clay.
Dog shit is biodegradable.
It is.
And thus, it's good for the environment.
That's true.
In a sense, yes? That's science.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
That's science.
You're good so far.
That reminds me of something else that is good for the environment. And that is public clay courts. We have storm water and water runoff issues left and right. They are more malleable than hard courts. They are better for the ecosystem around them. They are better for the environment. And a lot of people don't know this. They are actually cheaper to maintain over time than hard courts. And I don't know that either. I might have just made that up. I don't know. But it felt true when I said it.
And to add to that, my understanding is clay courts are cooler as well, which is probably better for the environment, cooling us down.
Okay, real talk. Like, it's 103 in a bunch of different places on the East Coast right now.
It's insane.
Guys, it's like, it's so hot. It's not getting cooler, is it? I know that it's a La Nina year, but that's just for a year. The trends are hot. And if you want people to be able to enjoy outdoor activities in the summer, you've got to get rid of this defeatist attitude of, just because Asheville, Greensboro, and Wilmington can do it doesn't mean that we can. We have to. Otherwise, people are just not going to be active in the summer. And there are meaningful health consequences on a community when people are less healthy. Why don't we invest in ourselves?
That's great. Public
clay courts 2024.
Another successful transition from point A to clay. Great work.
Listen, this has been another episode of the Triangle Tennis Podcast. Thanks for listening. Look out for more episodes from us in the coming days. Up next, we've got Dr. to-be, Trung Tran, and soon to reschedule Dr. Josh Lundberg.
Did you hit stop?
Oh, fuck, I forgot. Yeah.